Yeah.
content.
So, Stephanie, just tell me about the reaction to the exhibition from last night's event.
The reaction from the exhibition from last night was, I think the word to describe is emotional. I felt very connected to everyone in this room and to the music, to the sounds, to the voices, to the words of the songs. It felt like they were narrating on behalf of the images that we see. So having that with the background and this explosion of movement behind the singers made sense, and I think the public reacted to that and felt connected to the traditions, to memories, to their own childhood memories of sea life or villages, and that sense of childhood and fun that you get by the sea, and the sense of openness to water. And there is something visceral about water that connects with us, perhaps our own watery composition, and blood somehow links to it. So yeah, it was about feelings and sensory nourishment, I would say.
And how has today gone in terms of having people coming in to meet you and speak to you about the artworks?
I was nervous at first because talking about the work requires me to think in a manner that is different than the thinking I do when I'm producing. When I'm producing, I have done my research, I have done my thinking, and in the studio is really about getting out of the way and allowing all of those memories and those impressions and those conversations to filter through me and let my hands do it. So being in a position where I have to articulate where I was and what I was thinking is always a bit like, okay, I have to get my head around. But the questions were so insightful and curious, and I could really feel that people were connecting again. So that kind of makes you relax and say, okay, we're on the same, we're sharing something here, we have something in common, the work is speaking to you. And people are very curious about the process, how did you choose your pictures, how did you choose the materials, how did you put things onto the canvas, things that I wouldn't necessarily think they were wanting to know. And obviously there is the personal aspect of wanting to know who I was, where I was coming from, what initiated, how come a Brazilian person is talking about Scottish fishing communities. And it is that sense that we share waters and we share preoccupations of survival and we share food, and the fish that is fished here goes to other places and vice versa. So there is a connection, and there is a connection with life and our existence and our perishable existence. And so there are bigger universal themes of fear and survival and family and identity to place and lifestyles and physicality. The conversations we can have surrounding our digital society and how that is distancing ourselves from something that is very primitive. For a very long time we have been species that use the body and the muscles much more than just the brain, and now we are in this anxiety zone where we are so in our heads and there is no physical outlet. And there is something important about music and dancing and sounds and pulling and pushing and exercising and sweating that keeps us sane, I feel. And that doesn't allow for much. So as much as technology is who we are, digital technology is where we act. And look at us here talking, so it opens up doors and allows us to bring all these together. and take it to places that they wouldn't go before, so we can communicate. But what do we say then? And how do we say it? There is still space for what's primitive in us, in the best possible use of the word. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the fishing communities the journey that you went on, just some of the names of the places and...
Yes, so it's been fascinating because those were spaces I didn't inhabit, and I was a little apprehensive at first in sense of going into somebody else's world. So I started out from local, I always start from where I am. So I'm based in Aberdeenshire, and I started out going to Stonehaven and having a little look there and seeing that it was what was the rhythm of the place. I didn't quite find what I was looking for completely there. So I suppose somebody might have suggested that I would go to Arbroath because it was a very traditional fishing place, and the identity of it was still there to be seen and to be felt. And it was a slightly larger harbour, and there's a shipyard as well that gives movement to the place and more business, and the construction aspect that you see a lot on the work came very much from that yard of the guys fixing and repurposing things and working physically and metal and chopping woods and the banging of things that I get excited about. And the boats were slightly smaller as well, so I could get closer to the guys and I could talk to them and they could share, and we got to know each other. So there was a stronger sense of personal and community identity, and I could ask my questions and also be part of it, so they would get back into their jobs. And some of the images are very introspective because you get that sense of, is the man or the woman working and completely immersed in the fixing of the creel and the fixing of the ropes and that kind of beautiful space that we can inhabit when we get totally at one with the manual work that we're doing, and it just flows and there is a sense of stillness about it that was very beautiful to observe and try to convey through the work. After that, I continue my journey through the coastline into John's Haven and all the little fish villages that I don't actually know the names of, but all the way to Peterhead, which was quite contrasting. Traditionally as well, a big fishing port, but the vessels there were big, so it represents more of where the industry is heading, really, or is at the moment, with the big trawlers and miles of net and quite a different feel to it. But again, the presence of the person interacting with the machinery rather than with the water, closer to the water and closer to the net. So there was that beautiful contrast to look at. And then I had the opportunity to go all the way to Shetland, which again gave me a sense of place and Scotland as rock and granite and the water that chops the land and the dramatic drops, and I just got a sense I was the beginning of creation, if you like, in there. I don't know, there's something really beautiful about Scotland in general, but when you get those dramatic geological landscapes and the water and the smells and the traditions of the people, which are still very present there. So it's been an incredible learning journey for me, somebody who is not from this place but is from this planet, and it helped me heal as well. It helped me process my own personal life and the loss of a partner and just me and my children, and that nourishment, bringing them in as well, because I always have to involve my children in everything I do. So we all kind of went through this journey together of healing and connection and identity and growth and incorporating this new piece of being. Yeah.